Hey bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about the books that I read this summer. I've decided to no longer do monthly wrap-ups on my channel, but I recently watched a video from Reagan from Peru's Projects where she talked about her top 5 books of the summer, and she also included all the books that she read over the summer with their rating. I thought this was a really great way to at least talk about my favorite books of the season and to give you guys a quick update on what I rated all the books that I read. I've had a really busy summer and I haven't had a whole lot of time to blog or make videos, but I have made reading a priority. I read a whopping 14 books over the last 3 months, which is quite a lot for me. So in the order that I read them, here are the books that I read this summer. Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, which I gave 2.5 out of 5 stars. A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. And Darken by Kiersten, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. The Heart Goes Last by Margaret Atwood, which I gave 2.5 stars. This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. The Last Star by Rick Yancey, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. The Rose Society by Marie Lu, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. Furthermore by Tahira Mafi, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Audier, which I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. And finally, World After by Susan E., which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. As you can see, I was happy with most of the books that I read. And lucky for me, I had exactly 5 books that I gave 4.5 stars. So those are the ones that I'll be talking about now. The first one is Darken by Kiersten. I received an ARC of this at Y'all West a few months back, so thank you to the publishers for providing me with a copy of the ARC, which of course in no way affects my opinions. I actually hadn't heard anything about this and I wasn't really that interested in reading it when I picked it up, but because I'd gotten an ARC, I figured I should be responsible and read it and review it. I absolutely love this book. Darken is a alternate historical fantasy set in the height of the Ottoman Empire, which was not a time period I was very familiar with. What I loved most about this book were the characters. These characters are really complex and the relationships between the main characters are really complex. There is a love triangle, but it's not like any love triangle I've ever seen before. I know there might be some mixed reviews out there, and I will say that the pacing is a little slow and hard to get into. It's definitely not a super fast-paced and exciting book, but for me when I was reading it, it was more like a marathon. I was in it for the long haul and it was still really interesting along the way. The ending of this book was just beautiful and it left me with a book hangover, and I'm really excited to read the next book when it comes out. The next book that I gave 4.5 stars to is Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is the second book in the Red Queen series. I listened to this one on audio, which is how I read the first book in the series as well, and I really like this narrator. She really brings the world and the characters to life. I really enjoyed the first book in the series, and the sequel did not disappoint. The next book that I gave 4.5 stars to is The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I participated in a traveling ARC for this book, which means that someone let me borrow a copy of their ARC and then I had to send it on to someone else after I was done with it. I love Nicola Yoon's debut novel, Everything Everything, which I read last summer, and I was already highly anticipating this book, but I did not expect to love it as much as I did. The Sun is Also a Star is a love story about 2 young people who meet. It definitely has some elements of insta-love, but this is a romantic story where that's kind of the point. But this isn't a story just about love. It's also about family and diversity. I really enjoyed this book because there was a lot of Korean culture in it that I connected to. The Sun is Also a Star doesn't come out until November, but I definitely recommend you guys check it out when it hits the shelves. The next book that I gave 4.5 stars to this summer was The Rose Society by Marie Lu. This is the second book in the Young Elite series. I read the Young Elite sometime last year, and I actually didn't love it. I was kind of confused by it. I didn't realize going into it that it was sort of a story about a villain, and so I had very mixed feelings towards the main character. However, when I picked up The Rose Society, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into, and I really loved the characters in this book. I thought the first book was dark when I read it, but this book is way darker and it's so gritty, and I really enjoyed it. I'm dying to get my hands on the third book in the series. The last book that I gave 4.5 stars to that I read this summer is World After by Susan E. World After is the sequel to Angel Fall, which is a post-apocalyptic urban fantasy about when angels come down down to earth and kill a bunch of people. I really enjoyed the first book in the series when I read it, and it surprised me with how dark it was, and the second book wasn't any different. It was so dark and gritty. It's really interesting. I love Penryn, the main character. She really cares about her family, and she's loyal, and she's really smart, and at the same time very realistic. I love Penryn because even in this post-apocalyptic world, all she cares about is her family, and she's so loyal to them. I really enjoyed the sequel, and again, I'm dying to read the third book in this series. Well, that's a quick recap of all the books that I read this summer. I will at some point be posting written reviews for all of these on my blog. I'm currently very behind on all of my reviews because of the busy summer that I've had, but I plan to get caught up soon. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, or subscribe. If you want to talk about any of these books that I mentioned, leave a comment down below. That's all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye! So thank you to the publisher. I read an arc of this. This is the second book in the Red Queen series. I am dying to read the third book in the series, which comes out sometime. Which is If you liked this video, please, if you want to talk about any of these books that I mentioned, bye.